Hi, it's Patrick Hutzel from IntensiveCareHotline.com, where we instantly improve the lives for families of critically ill patients in intensive care, so that you can make informed decisions, have peace of mind, real power, real control, and so that you can influence decision making fast, even if you're not a doctor or a nurse in intensive care. This is another episode of Your Questions Answered, and in last week's episode I answered another question from one of our readers, and the question last week was: my dad has been in ICU for 2 months with tracheostomy, and now he's got a stomach bleed and he's on 100% of oxygen. Can he survive? You can check out the answer to last week's question by clicking on the link below this video. In this week's episode of Your Questions Answered, I want to answer another question from one of our readers, and the question this week is: my father is in ICU with ARDS and the intensive care team is withholding information. Help. This question from Umair formed part of an email counseling and consulting session with me. Umair shares his and his father's situation in intensive care as follows. Umair shares: Hi Patrick, thanks for all your updates and newsletters, they are really helpful. I have a quick question. My father is in Brampton Hospital, Ontario in ICU because of ARDS, which is lung failure. I was with him at the bedside for the last 2 weeks, and now because of my other professional and family commitments I had to leave him. My sister is still in Brampton. None of us actually lives there. We are just visiting because of my dad's situation, and my sister visits my dad every day. I have been calling daily since I left, and few nurses will give out the details on the phone regarding my father's condition, but lately they are not giving me any updates, and one nurse has annoyed and escalated the matter to the team, so the social worker along with the doctor and manager decided that they're not going to update me on the phone anymore, and they will only update my sister daily, who's physically present there at the moment. My sister doesn't have the same information as I do, and therefore doesn't ask the same questions as I have. Plus, she often misinterprets the meaning and big words before she can pass on the information and updates to me. Do I have any rights that I can challenge this? I should be able to speak to the nurse at least once a day for quick updates. What are my rights? Please help. Umair. So, here's my response. Hi Umair. Thank you for your question, and thank you for using my email counseling and consulting service. And first of all, I'm very sorry to hear that your father is in intensive care with ARDS, which is lung failure. Also, give yourself a pat on your back for standing your ground and for not putting up with the game the intensive care team is playing. Well done. You should definitely challenge that the team is not giving you any information about your father's condition. Unless there are things happening that you are not sharing with me, you have absolutely every right to be updated about your father's condition. Unless your father has specifically mentioned on admission to hospital or intensive care that he doesn't want the hospital or the intensive care team to give you updates, you should move heaven and earth to exercise your rights. It doesn't surprise me that the intensive care team is trying to minimize the flow of information to relatives. There is often a lot at stake for the team. If, for whatever reason, you are perceived as being difficult by the intensive care team because you are asking too many questions, or, God forbid, too many difficult questions, intensive care teams often try to exercise and impose their perceived power and their perceived authority, and they try to exercise them onto families of critically ill patients by either wrongly and also often illegally withholding information. It could well be that you are falling into this category, but I don't know. The fact of the matter is that I have seen over and over again that when families are being perceived as difficult and demanding, that the intensive care team is trying to shoot you down by withholding information. Again, for intensive care teams there's usually a lot at stake as well, whether it be the financial impact the treatment of your father has on their budget and or the anticipated length of stay your father's admission has on their resource and bed management plans. Especially with ARDS and lung failure, your father's condition might deteriorate rapidly, and therefore, depending on how skilled and experienced the intensive care team is in this particular ICU, they may or may not make the right decisions. When common treatment is proving to be ineffective in ARDS or lung failure, escalation of treatment would be the right thing to do. However, many intensive care units may not have the right equipment and or experience to escalate treatment for ARDS or lung failure. Therefore, you getting regular and transparent updates is critical. It's therefore that you've got to be prepared to stand up for yourself. To give you some examples of what can happen to critically ill patients in intensive care with ARDS or lung failure, I have put in some links to counseling and consulting sessions that I have done with previous clients who had their loved ones in intensive care for ARDS and lung failure. So check out those links to those consulting sessions below this video in the written version of this blog. If you are watching this video on YouTube, you should definitely go to our website and check it out there if you're clicking on the link below this YouTube video. So, here are also some action steps for you that you should do in order to solve your problem. Number 1. Ask for the unit policy about having access to information at any given time. The intensive care unit must have a policy about this, and they need to give you access to this policy so that you can find out whether they are following the right procedures and whether they are doing the right thing by their own policies. If you are having issues of getting this information from the unit directly because you are living in another state, you need to contact hospital administration and tell them about your dilemma. Don't take no for an answer. This is where most families in intensive care fall short, because they nod off everything they are being told and they do take no for an answer. This is a big mistake. You can't afford to make that mistake. Number 3. It might also help to get a social worker involved to clarify the situation and to help you. Social workers tend to be really good at supporting families as well. And number 4. Be difficult and demanding and demand your rights. I have done an article and a video about this that you should check out. The 5 reasons why you need to be difficult and demanding when your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Again, you can check out that video by clicking on one of the links below this video in the written version. Don't be like 99% of the families of critically ill patients in intensive care who don't make informed decisions, have no peace of mind, no control, no power, and no influence. Be different and demand the intensive care team to step up to do the right things. You should also be checking out the patient advocacy groups in Canada to further look into what rights you have. Again, I put a link for that below this video. Last but not least, keep informing yourself and keep doing your own research, which you have been doing anyway. Again, it doesn't surprise me the way the intensive care team is behaving, and it's often their arrogance and also ignorance to keep families of critically ill patients in intensive care at arm's length, so to speak. Be different Don't be intimidated by the intensive care team, because most families in ICU are, and make very clear that you won't put up with the way you are dealt with, and ask them to follow the right policies and procedures, as well as maintain high ethical and moral standards. Given that your father has ARDS or lung failure, is critically ill, and is most likely in a life-threatening situation, the intensive care team can't just withhold information. You have a right to know what's happening and going on. ARDS and lung failure is often life-threatening and requires sophisticated medical management and treatment. Therefore, information and regular updates are crucial. I hope that helps, Umair. Please let me know if you run into challenges or difficulties again, or if you have any other questions. If you want to, let me know and we can get on the phone, or you can send me another email. Take care. So, how can you become the best advocate for your critically ill loved one, make informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence quickly whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care? You get to that all-important feeling of making informed decisions, get peace of mind, control, power and influence when you download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you learn quickly how to make informed decisions, get peace of mind, real power and real control, and how you can influence decision making fast whilst your loved one is critically ill in intensive care. Your free Instant Impact Report gives you in-depth insights that you must know whilst your loved one is critically ill or is even dying in intensive care. Sign up and download your free Instant Impact Report now by entering your email below. In your free Instant Impact Report, you learn how to speak the secret intensive care language so that the doctors and the nurses know straight away that you are an insider and that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care. In your free report, you will also discover how to ask the doctors and the nurses the right questions, discover the many competing interests in intensive care, and how your critically ill loved one's treatment may depend on those competing interests, how to eliminate fear, frustration, stress, struggle and vulnerability even if your loved one is dying. You get 5 mind-blowing tips and strategies helping you to get on the right path to peace of mind, control, power and influence in your situation. You will get real-world examples that you can easily adapt to your and your critically ill loved one's situation. How to stop being intimidated by the intensive care team and how you will be seen as equals. You'll get crucial behind-the-scenes insight so that you know and understand what's really happening in intensive care and how you need to manage doctors and nurses in intensive care, and it's not what you think. Thank you for tuning into this week's Your Questions Answered episode, and I'll see you again in another update next week. Make sure you also check out our blog section for more tips and strategies, or send me an email to support@intensivecarehotline.com with your questions. Or you can call me. Find our international phone numbers on the Contacts tab. Also, check out our ebook section where you get more ebooks, videos and audio recordings, and where you can also get one-on-one consulting with me via Skype, over the phone or via email by clicking on the tabs on top of the website. This is Patrick Hutzel from intensivecarehotline.com, and I'll see you again next week in another update.